The policy is, as per the zoning regulations of the final development plan of Gurgaon, 50% of the area falling under the commercial zone can be developed by private developers. Okay. What is the relaxation? In order to accommodate the developer, an area of 9.223 acres taken from the road and green belt and was added to the 50% of the commercial area, raising the density of commercial areas to 72.623 acres. This kind of relaxation is unheard of. I dare say this is a form of corruption. So, Mr. Poonawala, respond, how was this specific relaxation given? Answer very factually. Huh? We are all listening. Come on.
All right. I'll answer your question and I'll take 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. Point number one, here's the fact that if Mr. Goswami, you're reading out from a piece of paper that was put out by the principal.
Why was the density of commercial areas raised in this manner? Do you have a specific answer?
Mr. Goswami, can I answer?
Oh God.
Yes, I am answering if you let me answer. Thank you, sir. Now here's the point. I have an answer. Now here's the point. Mr. Goswami, if you're going to read out from a piece of paper that the Principal Auditor General put out, which was overlooked by the CNEG and the Supreme Court and the Delhi High Court went into that matter, Mr. Goswami, my question to you is, the Principal Auditor in 2G only put the loss at 2,000 crores, where CNEG put the loss at 1,76,000
no, you don't have answer to my
Why the hypocrisy of you there picking and choosing the CNEG, but here picking the Principal Auditor? Point number one. Point number two, Mr.
What
Goswami,
happened to my question?
Please answer your question.
What happened to my question?
Without being interrupted.
What happened to my question?
I am answering. Now, point number
what happened to my question? Why was the commercial area, density of the commercial area increased?
Where the density
I'm answering your question, Mr. Goswami.
Official file, Look here.
Mr. Goswami, can I please
number
speak?
Number 14 is Mr. Skylight Hospitality applying
Dr.
for
Patra,
the license, and you can
Dr.
see over
Patra,
here as to how the tweaking has been done.
Dr. Patra,
this is the official file that I'm showing you. This is not a piece of paper.
Dr. Patra,
we are not Banana Republic as the Amadji feels. We are not Banana Republic.
I am glad, Mr. Patra. Okay, fantastic. Now, can I answer that question? Mr. Patra, if you have those original papers that you claim to have in the BJP office, take those papers. I suggest there's a lawyer on this panel. Go tomorrow morning and file a case. And I guarantee you, like the Allahabad High Court, the Supreme Court and the Delhi High Court, this case will be thrown out the fourth time. Because you know what? You're right. Banana Republic, kangaroo courts, that is what you and the Times now have made of this. You all overlook constitutional authorities. You all overlook constitutional orders.
No, what is Robert Vadra? Extra constitutional? Huh? Above the constitution or beyond the constitution?
No, that is reserved for Mr. Arnab Goswami. It is only Mr. Arnab Goswami.
What is Robert Vadra?
He has always been.
What is above,
because
below,
Mr. Arnab Goswami at 9 o'clock sits over judgments of Supreme Court, CNEG and Election Commission of India.
Who is Robert Vadra? Why on earth should he be treated like this? Who is he?
At least he does not masquerade to.
Who is Robert Vadra?
He does not masquerade and pretend to be a journalist.
I'm asking you a question. Don't get emotional.
The only extra constitutional authority is you, who sits over judgments of Supreme Court.
Okay, second
like
question.
The Prime Minister and Mr. Patra sits over the judgments of the Election Commission of India.
Relax, Tehseen. Second.
What are you saying?
Let's Professor Anand.
Model Code of Conduct.
Professor Anand, I now want to draw you in on the second point because Poonawala says that I've got facts and all. Second relaxation is there is a policy, Professor.
Your facts are wrong.
Professor, I'm asking Professor Anand, please, don't, your voice is getting shaky now. Professor Anand, the policy is that the site should be approachable to an internal road. The relaxation in this case is the site was not approachable. Though there was no such precedent, the department accepted the proposal of the colonizer that the approach would be taken through a plotted colony of 2 other builders in collaboration with a land base for which the LOI had already been issued. This is a fairly big, it's a breakthrough in terms of breaking the rules, Professor. That means the rules don't matter.
Well, there are only 2 choices before in my understanding, there are 2 choices before the Congress party and Sri Robert Vadra. Number 1, if they agree, there should be an independent inquiry headed by a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, so that all these noisy objections by the Congress party for last 2 years can be interrogated, because they are rejecting all the constitutional authorities. They think that their interpretation is the only interpretation, but unfortunately they are out of power now.
Yeah.
So there will be a little bit of cooling period for them to be reasonable. And the second option is that they surrender this land. Mr. Robert Vadra,
Surrender the land. Absolutely. Accept your guilt, surrender the land.
Both of them.
Can I come in? Can I answer?
No, surrender the land. Good idea. At least symbolically.
No, but Ashok Khemka had in fact questioned the mutation of the land.
Like how Prakash Javadekar surrendered the others' flats.
To Robert Vadra. Bring the papers, Tehseen. I have all the papers of Mr.
Dr.
Vadra.
Patra,
the nation knows about Mr. Vadra. Don't speak illogically.
So, Dr. Patra, may I request you, since you have all the papers,
and Arnab, I have something very important.
Dr. Patra, may I request you, since you have all the papers, please file a case one more time. But
you have nothing new to say.
But Mr. Goswami, may I make a few more points?
Nothing new to say.
I have something new to say if you allow me to speak.
What is new?
Now, here's the next
what
point.
is the new thing you are saying? Say one new thing on this case.
When the gentleman from the Aam Aadmi Party spoke about the constitutional authorities, let me refresh his memory. I know that the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP are hand in glove, but the fact of the matter is this: the constitutional authority, the Election Commission of India, Prime Minister Modi went to it who rejected his proposal. The fact of the matter is CNAG has not acted on this report, and this matter went before the Supreme Court. Last I checked, that was the constitutional authority. It is you sitting here on top of the constitutional authority. Dr. Patra had the decency to let somebody else speak. Dr. Patra had the decency to let somebody else speak. Can I request you, Dr. Patra? Can I request you, Dr. Patra?
Model code of conduct are examined by the Election Commission.
Dr. Patra, can I request you to use your good offices?
Issued by the Director
Dr. Patra, can I request you to use your good offices?
The question is whether a letter issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Gurgaon was before or after the Model Code of Conduct. It was not about the merit of the case. For God's sake, don't bring in the Election Commission into all this. And as far as the court is concerned,
you and your Prime Minister who paddle half lies, may I request you all something? May I request you all something, Dr. Patra, now? If you're done with your address to the nation, may I request you? May I request you something?
Go to Mr. Robert Vadra and tell him to surrender the land.
Surrender the land.
Dr. Patra, why don't you use your good offices with the Honorable Prime Minister who paddles half-truths and call and appeal the Delhi High Court judgment that came out 10-20 days ago? Why don't you all do that? You all have the habit of challenging the Election Commission of India.
Anupam Gupta.
And Mr. Goswami, Mr. Goswami, if I'm allowed to speak, since you're speaking about facts, let me remind you, Mr. Goswami, if Dr. Patra can give 1 minute of silence. You yourself, Mr. Goswami, have been wrong on facts. In the Jayalalitha case where she got bail today, 15 days ago, your channel and I have the screenshots were showing her release from bail from the Karnataka High Court and celebration. So on facts, you too can be wrong. Please accept it with humility and allow me to continue to make my points. The point is, Mr. Goswami and Dr. Patra, that all these papers that you have been looked into by the Supreme Court, by the High Court, and you all have nothing new to add but to flog a dead horse.
Mr. Poonawala, I'll tell you one thing. I'm saying this to you in all seriousness.
Can I request you about Rajasthan? What happened to Rajasthan?
I'll say this
10
to
months your government, Dr.
Mr.
Patra.
Poonawala, relax.
What happened out there?
Mr. Poonawala, relax. I'll tell you one thing. Listen
by the way,
Sambit.
Relaxation, I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine, Mr. Goswami.
Relax. Just take a deep breath. Now, my question is, Mr. Poonawala, it is very unfortunate that you have chosen to display your abject ignorance in such an open manner on national television. In the case of Jayalalitha, there was initially no opposition.
Did you not celebrate Jayalalitha's release?
Listen. In the case of Jayalalitha, there was an argument going on. There was initially there was no opposition to the bail, despite which the judge made a judgment, took a decision on the basis of facts at their disposal. We are reporting the facts and people were responding based upon that. So I really feel unfortunate that you exposed yourself like that.
So you got your facts wrong. She didn't get bail.
My question is now, Mr. Poonawala, I don't give Jayalalitha bail, so just relax. Question is Anupam Gupta. If Vadra...
I thought you sit in judgment over the Supreme Court, Mr. Goswami.
I asked some questions and there are some people who don't have answers. And some people who don't have answers, like childishly bring pieces of paper, hold it up and do all that drama. Now the question is, if Robert Vadra was a private citizen, because what is the whole Congress argument? Private citizen. My question is, Anupam Gupta, if he's a private citizen, why was his so-called status taken into account when the decision to grant him the license was taken? Why should we not believe that the status being talked about is the status that he has of being part of a political family? What is the other status?
We have a term in jurisprudence, sui generis, a class in itself. Robert Vadra was sui generis, a class in himself, above the constitution, above the law. His overarching shadow and persona influenced and motivated the entire exercise from beginning to end. All disclaimers.
Are we talking
to the
about Robert or
contrary
Arnab out here?
notwithstanding.
I'm a little confused.
And this letter of June 2013,
Don't shout, Mr. Poonawala.
I'll ignore that jibe as utterly irrelevant and undignified. Coming back to the
Then,
mainstream,
Mr. Lawyer,
main
please
theme of
take
the
your
debate.
matter to the court. Challenge the court's orders.
The
Please challenge it.
patronage and complicity of the state government of Haryana, coupled with the appalling thundering silence of 10 Janpath at that time, the former first political family. The patronage was blatant. It was writ large on each and every transaction. Let the Congress, let Robert Vadra, let DLF Universal, let Skylight Hospitality take this matter before any tribunal, any commission of inquiry, any court, including the High Court or the Supreme Court of their choice, any High Court of their choice, Delhi, Punjab or Haryana or any other.
To the
And in
court,
fact,
sir.
I
Let
request,
notice be issued to Mr. Ashok Khemka
Sir,
to
let me read
defend
out the
his
Supreme
position.
Court verdict to
and
you.
I request,
I accept this
I put
challenge
out a public
that
request.
Mr. Poonawala has thrown.
I put out a public
The
request.
simple expedient is let the new state government of Haryana, which will come into office next week, restore Mr. Ashok Khemka's order of cancellation of mutation. This deal, despicably sweetheart, must go. It must be rejected.
and I'm making out a public request.
I'll reply to him.
And a
Please tell
proper
Mr.
moral
Khemka's
message
lawyer.
sent to the
Arnab,
entire
I'll reply
nation.
to it. Please tell Mr. Khemka's lawyer. Arnab, please tell Mr. Khemka's lawyer that advise his client, Mr. Khemka, who is now an employee of the central government under Mr. Modi, to challenge the Supreme Court, High Court orders. Why is Mr. Lawyer on your panel not challenging the orders where Mr. Khemka is a member of the central government? I also request you, Dr. Patra, can you have 2 minutes of silence?
Who said he's a central government? Get your facts right. He's still in the state government. He's in the Department of Archives.
Use your good offices, Dr. Patra. Use your good office with the Prime Minister to institute a CBI inquiry.
Yes.
The Delhi High Court ruled it out.
I think
institute your office.
I think there's a very simple
Please do it.
solution.
You have all the original papers.
I think there's a very simple solution.
Go to court. You have a lawyer
have all your facts wrong, my dear friend.
I'm putting out Sambit. At the very end, I'm making one point.
I'll admit my facts are wrong. Why don't you, Dr. Patra, go to court? You have a lawyer, you have a Prime Minister,
now listen to me,
go to court.
Tehseen, you've spoken enough. Listen to me. Fact is, I am putting out today on the Newshour a public request on national television. I am inviting Robert Vadra, who likes to sometimes, I think he's done a few, interviews, not that those interviews raised any pertinent questions. I have a few pertinent questions for Mr. Robert Vadra. And I request Mr. Robert Vadra not to speak through Tehseen Poonawala. I want to speak to you, Mr. Robert Vadra. Why don't you come on the program? I'll ask you a few straight questions.
Because
we'll have a frank chat. We'll have a frank chat, and I think I will have a few straight questions. We will also see whether your answers are convincing. I look forward to Robert Vadra speaking directly and not through others on the program. I wait for that. Thank you very much for joining me on this debate on the Newshour tonight.